I signed up to work in a fire lookout tower, but I can't explain what I saw. The forest was quiet when I arrived at the tower. Too quiet. It was early in the season, so there were no other people round, and the rangers had just given me the key. They told me to come back in 2 weeks, and they'd collect the key. No one else would be out here. The fire lookout season had started, but all of the other towers had been filled last year. This one had been left empty for some reason. I was excited about this job because I wanted to be alone. I'd wanted some time away from my phone, away from everyone. My phone didn't have service in this part of the woods, which was another reason why I took the job. But I soon realized that being alone wasn't going to be the only unique experience I would have working here. My day started with a large pot of coffee and a cigarette while I scanned the horizon with binoculars. It was my job to watch for fires. If I saw smoke, I had to call it in and tell them where I was seeing it from. Then the helicopter would come in and see if it was a problem or not. So far, everything seemed normal. But after a few days, things got weird. First, it was the sounds. I heard wolves, lots of wolves, even though I never saw any. And I knew there weren't any because I had walked all the way around the tower after moving in. It wasn't a big tower. It was just a small wooden room up in the trees with a bed, a table, a chair and an old lantern. There were no windows, only screens to keep bugs out. There was a ladder outside, but it only went to the top floor. Underneath was solid wood. I could see the ground from there, but I couldn't get to the ground. The only way in or out was the ladder. I should have felt safer up there. Like the solitude would have kept me safe from anything, but I didn't. I couldn't shake this feeling that something was watching me. I tried to ignore it, but then the dreams started. Every night I dreamed the same dream. I was always walking through tall grass in this stream, looking for an exit. I'd find a path and start walking down it, but after a bit, the path would end and the tall grass would start closing in on me again. And then I'd wake up. One morning I woke up before sunrise. As I stood by the window, trying to catch the first glimpse of daylight, I heard what sounded like screams in the trees. Big guttural screams. I told myself it was just a bear. A bear wouldn't climb up the tower, I reasoned. And then I poured some coffee and went back to scanning the horizon. It was about 11 a.m. I hadn't seen any smoke yet, but I was expecting a visit from the helicopter soon. I needed more coffee. The pot was empty. I was out of instant coffee. As I turned to leave, I noticed something odd on the table. There was a new can of coffee. It was a brand I'd never seen before. On the side of the can, I read, hand-roasted in small batches. That was impossible. No one else was out here. No one had climbed up the tower since I moved in. And then I heard the unmistakable sound of a helicopter. I ran to the window just in time to see it disappear behind the trees. Odd, I thought. They usually landed on the clearing just below the tower. Instead of waiting for them to come back, I decided to go into town and get supplies. Maybe I'd run into someone who knew what was going on. The drive into town was beautiful, winding roads surrounded by trees. I stopped at a little diner to get some gas and use the phone. When I walked in, everyone stared at me. I asked the woman behind the counter if she'd seen a helicopter round. She nodded. "Big Black Hawk," she said. "Yeah," I replied. "Same one I'm waiting for." I paid for my gas, and as I walked out, I heard one of the men inside say, "That's the lookout, ain't it?" "Yeah," said another voice. "Only one. I haven't seen him in a while. Wonder how he's doing." When I got back to the tower, I found a new message attached to the door with a rock. It said, "Hold the fort. Be back in 2 days." Now I was starting to get scared. Who was coming to replace me? Was that the message on the door? They were telling me someone else was coming to take over my job. When I opened the door, I saw the 2 men from the diner standing in front of me. Hi," I said. One of the men stepped forward. He introduced himself and then asked if I was the new lookout. "Yeah, I guess I am. Where's the other guy? Who's supposed to take over my job?" "You don't know?" He looked genuinely surprised. "We're the lookouts. We work together. They let me stay in the tower, but I didn't want to be here anymore. I told them I had to leave, but they said I couldn't." "Why can't I leave? Why are you guys here?" "You can't leave," one of them said. "You don't understand. You're here to help us." I started to panic. They said I was the replacement, but now they were telling me that I was here to help them. "There's no one else," I said. "This is it. There's nothing else out here." "Don't be afraid," said the man. "We need your help, please." Their eyes were pleading, desperate, and their faces were covered with dirt. I could see that their clothes were dirty, too. It was clear they hadn't showered in a long time. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. "I have to leave." I pushed past the men and started down the ladder. I made it to the ground just as the sun was setting. I could feel their eyes on me the whole time, but I didn't care. I started running toward my car, making sure not to look back. As I sped down the road, I looked in the rearview mirror. The headlights were getting closer. I could make out 2 distinct shapes in the driver's seat, 2 dark figures silhouetted against the orange glow of the sky. I hit the gas. The forest was dark and the road was winding, but I didn't care. I floored it, hoping to get away from whatever or whoever was chasing me. When I finally reached the ranger station, it was well after dark. I burst through the doors and fell into a chair. People were staring at me. I could hear them whispering. I didn't care. I was safe. I had made it. Then the ranger came over and asked me what was wrong. I explained about the tower, about the men who had replaced me. He listened patiently. When I was done, he smiled. "It's good to see you, Mike," he said. "The others were getting worried that we lost you on the way out. You must have taken a different route. How are you?" "I'm fine," I lied. "Are you sure? You look terrible." "I'm fine. You should rest. You can sleep here if you want." "No, I'm gonna go home." I got up and headed for the door. As I walked out, I saw the 2 rangers step out of the shadows. "What? You said," I started. "You were in the forest. We were looking for you," one of them said. "We were wondering if you were okay." I shook my head. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Mike," the ranger said, his voice low. "It's time to go back." He started to walk toward me, but I stopped him. "No, I don't want to go back. Please don't make me." The ranger looked at the 2 men in the shadows. They were gone. "He needs some rest," the ranger said. "Let's go." I looked round, confused. What? Where are they? What did you do with them? The ranger's face was expressionless. "What are you talking about? There's no one here but us." You said there were other lookouts, I insisted. Who are you? The ranger's grip tightened on my arm. Mike, we need to get you home. All I could think about was the tower. I had a bad feeling about it. The worst kind of feeling that I couldn't explain. We got into the car. Neither of the rangers said a word. I sat in the middle, trapped between them, listening to the crunch of gravel beneath the tires. When we got to the tower, it was still dark, but the sky was starting to lighten. As I looked at the two dark figures sitting in front of me, I realized that I would never escape what was waiting for me in that tower. The forest was silent, and when the sun finally rose, I knew that I would be spending the next 2 weeks alone. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please hit the like button and subscribe. And if you want to hear another creepypasta, click the link on screen.